on a Monday.
Monday morning.
Just another manic Monday.
Monday's come Monday. I don't like Monday.
Rainy days Monday.
Okay, man, start it up.
Broadcasting live from the legendary studios of Canton's own 1480 WHBC.
You're listening to Gary Rivers.
All right, 4 minutes after 10 o'clock, News Talk 1480 WHBC. All right, so the only thing that I know people were talking about over the weekend was Star Wars, for crying out loud. But it didn't break all records. In fact, it came in number 2, if you will, for the all-time record, which, by the way, was its last Star Wars predecessor. So go figure. Star Wars Last Jedi, $220 million at the box office here. And then right behind it, way behind it in number 2 was Ferdinand with about $13 million. So that's what happened over the weekend. And, of course, all of you are Christmas shopping and what's going on. Hey, I just want to invite you to stick around for the show today, as the next 2 hours are going to be extremely busy. We'll talk with a lot of law enforcement here in the studio right now. And then at 10:35, we're going to talk about, this is really kind of almost an end-of-the-year wrap-up week, if you will. We're going to talk about law enforcement and their collaboration. The Stark Community Foundation has a report that they released late summer, and I've got some folks coming in from the foundation this morning at 10:35 to talk about where Stark County is and where they would like to see it go. And this report is apparently going to be the foundation for what a lot of agencies and organizations look at down the road. And then at 11 o'clock, Kimberly Schwinn joins us from AAA, and we'll talk a lot of things. First of all, this is the weekend everybody takes to the roads. We'll have AAA's, unfortunately for the law enforcement officers in the studio, AAA is saying this is going to be the biggest year ever for travel on the roads, and that is probably the best segue to go into right now. First of all, George Meier, our sheriff, Stark County, thank you so much for being here.
Always good to be here with you.
Thank you. Always a pleasure to have you. And introduce everybody. Who's this gentleman to your left?
We have Chief Doug Swartz from Canal Fulton Police Department, who's joining us this morning, and Chief Mark Brink from the Jackson Township Police Department.
Awesome. And then you've got somebody standing behind you making sure that we're all doing what we're supposed to do.
He's going to tap me on the shoulder if I get going too long.
Okay.
That's,
Major Stance.
CJ Stance from my office.
Awesome. Well, on that note, on AAA, with the numbers they're projecting to start on the roadways this week, starting really in about 2 days is when it really kicks in. The OVI task force, which all of you are a part of, really that's kind of on your minds this morning, right?
Well, certainly. It is going to be probably one of the busiest travel weekends of the year. We're getting those reports from obviously AAA, but the other thing is just drive by the gas pumps and look at the gas prices. They're probably the lowest that they've been all year, and it sparks people's ability to get out and travel in their automobile. So there is a lot of traveling this weekend, and as what goes along with that is unfortunately impaired drivers. And so we do our best as a group here in Stark County to ensure that we reduce the impaired drivers on the roadway.
And the numbers of traffic deaths and impaired driving, they're not going down, are they?
They're not, Gary. That's unfortunate. In Stark County, we see about a 50% representation in our fatal crashes that are alcohol or impaired drivers. Wow. So alcohol-related or an impaired driver. So, we have our work cut out for us, and we worked very hard. Last year, we were able to conduct about 40 checkpoints throughout the county, which is an exercise that we do to try to, first of all, inform the public that we are out there, and secondly, reduce impaired drivers from our roadways.
How does that work? Doing the checkpoints? I mean, do you get a lot, or is it more of a deterrent saying, I knew drinkers back in the day who said they knew where they were, so they would hide.
Well, we tell everybody where we're going to be.
You do?
It's not like we're trying to sneak up and catch somebody. We tell folks where we're going to be. So, there is a bit of a tactic there to let people know that we're going to be out there and designate a driver and do the right thing. There's so many opportunities. You can call a cab, call an Uber, call a friend.
Yeah.
And so we let folks know that we're going to be out there. And to your question, does it work? I believe it does. We get a lot of calls from folks wanting to know where those checkpoints are going to be because, they want to plan ahead. If they're going to be out drinking, they will designate a driver. So we think we're getting a pretty good impact with our checkpoints.
Yeah, I guess what surprises me, and maybe anyone want to weigh in on this, why, after knowing all these statistics and with all the opportunities available with Uber and taxis and Lyft and whatever happens to be available, why is there still the drinking and driving? We know the penalties are astronomically more than what they were 20 years ago. I mean, you get caught. Most of us can't afford those penalties, right?
Well, Gary, the thing with alcohol is it impairs your judgment as well. So you have all this stuff available to you, but when you're intoxicated and you're impaired, people tend to make poor choices, and that is common for people that we stop. So the checkpoints, they do work because generally we do catch one or two people, and that is definitely worth all the effort that we put into it. Yeah. So something interesting I read: 300,000 incidents of drunk driving happen a day. And out of those 300,000, we only catch 3,000 people. And sadly, some of those 3,000 people, they catch themselves by slamming into an innocent.
What have you.
So the Stark County OVI Task Force gives us a chance to get more officers out on the streets and provide these checkpoints. And it's a vital partnership for our community in Canal Fulton.
Will the updated and upgraded communication system be also a big help to you for communication between agencies?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question.
Well, it seems to me that would help with the checkpoints, with the drinking as well.
Well, one of the things that we wanted to make sure that we mentioned this morning is how we work together.
Okay.
We work better together than we ever have in the past. And that has made an impact on the safety in our community, not only on the roadways, but in our communities in general. But with the new emergency radio system, countywide radio system, it's going to give us an opportunity to listen and talk directly to our neighbors when there is a crisis or an event where we need to be able to do that. And so we're already utilizing some of that right now, and as it continues to unfold, we're going to see more and more throughout the county where folks are going to be able to communicate with each other.
Which is awesome. It helps you communication, but I can imagine. I just know that sometimes drunk drivers, they cross jurisdictions.
Yeah,
and so how does that work? And maybe that helps. Interesting. You also have a thing called compliance checks. Tell me about that.
Yeah, we have compliance checks throughout the county. Usually we run those in the spring of the year. But last year we checked about, between 210 and 217, we checked over 1,000 locations. And that's where we go in and we make sure that the vendors, the point of sale, are actually checking folks' ID, make sure they're not selling to underage customers. And so we work with the Ohio Investigative Unit and agencies throughout the county to conduct those compliance checks and make sure that we are not underage serving.
There's training for those businesses, though, isn't there? I mean, if you sell alcohol, are there mandatory trainings for management and/or employees?
Absolutely. There's training, and not only is there training for those folks, there's training for servers as well in our establishment, so that they can recognize somebody that may be over-serving someone who's had a little bit too much. So.
Do we still see, I almost hate to ask, we're seeing still drunk driving, so we're still seeing a lot of people selling alcohol to minors?
Well, we don't, honestly. What we're seeing is with our compliance checks, we're doing a good job. We completed, like I said, over 1,000 compliance checks, and there were only about 200 that were illegal sales, so a little over 200. So we're doing a good job of making sure that and folks are doing a good job with the training to make sure that they're not selling to underage.
Yeah, when I've talked with my mind went blank. There are some almost humorous stories of people who, though, when they sell to minors, you're just stunned that they would actually be so blatantly doing it.
Well, it does still happen, as we know from our compliance checks. But again, I think folks are doing a good job with the training and making sure that they check and ask questions and are making sure that we do reduce the number of underage sales.
All right, we got to take a commercial break. When we come back, I want to talk a little bit more about maybe what's going to be taking place this weekend, but also some of the other collaborative efforts that you've got going on interagency. So 14 minutes after 10 o'clock at the Gary Rivers Show. We'll be right back.
Need more Gary in your life? Here's show podcasts at WHBC.com.
It's a musical tradition. Chip Davis, the founder and musical director of Mannheim Steamroller, presents Mannheim Steamrollers An American Christmas.
Starting Christmas Eve afternoon and Christmas Day on 1480 WHBC.
Hey, Rico, I finished bringing all the Fords from the old store.
What? I completely stocked the new store directly from Ford. Where'd you put all the cars?
Oh, I found places.
On the roof? What's that? The Ford Focus in a tree?
That one was tricky.
What's wrong with you? You can't put... Come in right now to the new Loudon Motors Ford, because we're going to be cutting deals like crazy.
Yeah, like brand new 2017 Ford Fiesta starting at only $10,900. Or 0% financing plus $1,000 cash back on almost every new Ford model.
Get in here today.
Because you're not going to believe where I put that last Taurus.
What?
Come visit us at the all-new Loudon Motors Ford in Minerva, Ohio.
If you change nothing about what you're doing right now, what do you think the chances are of you having a successful retirement? I'm Andy Smith, certified financial planner with Financial Engines. Let's say you don't change your 401k. You don't change your Social Security strategy. You never figure out how much you're going to have to pay for health care. Do you think you'll have enough money to last you through retirement? As America's largest independent investment advisor, according to Investment News, Financial Engines offers help to more than 9 million people. We provide objective, personal, comprehensive planning advice that you need to make informed financial decisions now, up to, and through retirement. Get to financialengines.com and we'll connect you with a professional financial advisor in your area who'll help create a financial plan that'll tell you what you should be doing right now to help increase your chances of having a successful retirement.
This is John Hubbard with Financial Engines in the Cleveland, Akron area. Let's talk about the financial goals that are important to you, and together we'll develop a plan to help make them happen. Call me at 440-934-9933 or visit financialengines.com.
Did I take my medicine this morning?
What if Mom falls trying to take a bath?
Worries like these ruin a good night's sleep and make everyday obstacles that much more difficult. Let St. Luke Lutheran Community wipe away some of those worries associated with aging. The trusted reputation of St. Luke Lutheran Community can provide daily relief from these concerns and others with 24-hour supportive assisted living, skilled nursing, rehabilitation, and memory support services. At St. Luke Lutheran Community, make new friends, renew old friendships, and surround yourself with comfort, convenience, and quality care. See how inviting, secure surroundings can ease you and your loved ones' minds. St. Luke Lutheran Community, a trusted provider of faith-based services to enrich the lives of older adults. Visit us in North Canton, Portage Lakes, and Minerva, or online at stlukelutherancommunity.org.
There are a lot of gift ideas out there, but is there one that combines perks, rewards, and peace of mind? A membership to the Canton AAA has it all and more. The ultimate roadside assistance has always been AAA. As a member, your benefits cover you whether you're driving or not, and they will tow you where you want to go. Add in the travel opportunities, perks and rewards from partners including Sprint and Hertz, auto insurance, luggage, and so much more. If you drive, fly, or cruise, a AAA membership is perfect. For more information, go to AAA.com. That's AAA.com.
I'm Kurt Thomas, inviting you to join my wife Eileen and me every Sunday morning at 8 o'clock for the Haven of Rest broadcast. Each week we feature interviews with people from all walks of life who have experienced dramatic turnarounds as a result of help received at Haven of Rest Ministries in Akron. You'll be encouraged by stories of lives changed with the power of the gospel. So join us every Sunday at 8 o'clock a.m. for the Haven of Rest broadcast here on News Talk 1480 WHBC.
Because my mind is fading, I realize I can't make the decisions I did when I was younger. I don't remember how to handle my money. I can't remember which medications my doctor told me to take. So I have a guardian, so I can continue to live independently as long as I can.
This is Judge Dixie Park. Our guardians are in need of volunteers to help check on the most vulnerable residents in our area, those who are unable to care for themselves due to physical or mental disabilities. As a court angel, you will visit adult wards at nursing homes, group homes, and private residences. You will check in with the guardians in their wards, reporting on the care being provided, and noting any requests that will enhance the ward's health and welfare.
Court Angels assist the guardians and probate court. Your recommendations can provide greater comfort and care to those not fully capable of caring for themselves. What a wonderful service you will be providing. For information on how you can become a Court Angel volunteer, contact the Stark County Probate Court.
Ford man, come step into my office.
Gee, Rico, it's kind of tight in here.
You know why?
I did notice the new F-150 Raptor you have sitting in the middle of it.
Someone overstocked the new store.
Oh, yeah, right. That was me.
What are you going to do about it?
Offer leases on Escape starting at only $199 a month. And save up to $12,000 off the last of our 2017 model year in F-150s. Or lease for as little as $249 a month while supplies last. Leases are 0 down, 36 months, no security deposit.
What about my office?
If you're going to keep a full-size pickup in it, you might want to get smaller furniture.
Get out and sell some cars.
Okay. Come visit us at the all-new Loud Motors Ford in Minerva, Ohio.
Now back to Gary Rivers on WHBC.
All right, 20 minutes after 10 o'clock on News Talk 1480 WHBC. This is a half hour of law enforcement in Stark County in the studios this morning. We were talking really about collaboration between agencies in town and how there's some amazing things going on in law enforcement, among them the OVI task force. But the issues are there, and we're going to talk really with Mark Brink about this. The traffic fatalities, they're not going down in Stark County, are they?
They're not, and there's nothing more devastating than to lose a loved one this time of year, especially to something like an OVI infraction that caused the death of one of your family members. We've had 32 fatalities so far this year out of 26 crashes. The amazing part is the average BAC on those crashes, half of them were .19. That is double the legal limit to be driving.
Oh, my.
There's way too many ways that we can get a ride home in today's atmosphere. Our friends have to look out for us. We've got to be careful. We cannot afford to have people out driving our streets as busy as they are. I don't know how they do it because as busy as it is in Jackson Township right now, it's tough enough just getting through there. I mean, I know how many accidents we're handling every day. A lot of them aren't impaired drivers, but to be impaired and out there trying to drive is it's just devastating for us.
And then we're talking mostly alcohol, but are we testing for drugs in cars now? And that's an impairment as well, or is that a newer statistic? That
Well, actually, Gary, you're right on target. And one of the things we talk about when we talk about a driver who's normally we would say under the influence of alcohol. Now we say impaired because it's a combination.
Got it.
And so we're seeing that more and more.
Yeah, and that's a sad state of what we're doing. Although there are some good statistics for Stark County, if you will, that it seems like the deaths from heroin have stabilized or dropped a little. I mean, nothing's good, but at least it's a downward trend.
Well, right? I think it's again attributed to people working together. You've heard me say before that we will not arrest our way out of this problem, and we won't. But we will work together and find solutions to the problem and curb this opiate addiction here in Stark County, and I think we're making some progress.
Yeah, there's been a lot of initiatives. I know you and I have talked about that, and we may talk about it again in the future about what you're doing in the jails and
right.
and helping. But let's get away from that for just a moment and talk about a Cops and Shops program. Tell me about that.
Well, this program was conducted in 2016 and 2017, and it was re-implemented here just recently. The Cops and Shops program allows for our officers to be in the shops, and when people come in and attempt to purchase underage, they're there to observe and make the apprehension. So it's worked out well for us. We just kind of skimmed the surface on that in the last couple years. But again, it's just one more piece of how do we reduce these fatalities and these impaired alcohol or drug and alcohol impaired crashes.
So a lot of efforts going on. Is this collaboration, if you will, because we've got Canal, Fulton, you've got Jackson, you've got the Sheriff's Department in here, but is it all a part of the OVI, or are there other collaborative efforts that goes on?
Well, I think it's a big part of the OVI. One of the things to say about the OVI checkpoints, we in Stark County, not that we're competitive, but we are one of the state leaders in the OVI checkpoints. So, we're the 6th or 7th largest county in the state of Ohio. It really, for us to be a leader in the state is really significant. That we have 50% of our crashes that are alcohol or alcohol related. And so we need to make sure that we're doing our best efforts to reduce those fatalities. And so, again, we come out of the gate swinging, and we've led the state in our efforts here.
All right. Well, this weekend I know is the busiest weekend of the year for travel, whether they're leaving town and going to the holidays. But that mixes everybody's coming in for the holidays, so there's going to be the celebrations at the bars and at those locations, and people traveling, coming in and going out. What's going on in Stark County law enforcement that's helping in the battle of making sure people aren't driving?
We definitely have seen a lot of Uber drivers being pulled over and for different infractions, and it's an Uber driver taking impaired people home. And my officers are actually saying it's harder and harder to find an OVI arrest, and they're pulling over more and more Uber. So I think that is definitely a trend, and it's the younger millenniums that are taking advantage of that. So hopefully that trend continues, and we start reducing some of our fatalities in Stark County, in Ohio.
We're going to do some high visibility patrols this weekend through the new year. I think all of us are involved in that. It puts more officers on the street. Mm-hmm. We're going to look for speeders. We're going to look for aggressive drivers. I was in town over the weekend, and I could tell you a story, but I won't, about an aggressive driver that just, have some courtesy. Just let's try to work together. We've talked about this before during the Hall of Fame events, that type of thing, but We've just got to work together and take care of each other, and I think that's the biggest thing we can do. But we're going to be out there, and if you're impaired in driving, there's a chance we're going to get you, and we don't shy away from that. That's our job out there. That's what we want to do.
Do you, you mentioned aggressive drivers, because I saw a guy this morning. He was angry, and he was beeping a horn and tailgating a guy in front of him and couldn't wait to pass him, and I thought, oh my gosh. Question I have is, when a police officer sees something like that, do you just go right at it and pull that guy over?
Oh yeah, we'll take enforcement action when we see someone that's an aggressive driver and could be contributing to a traffic crash. One of the things that's really interesting, it's a special time of year, isn't it? This is a time for giving and sharing and showing your love for one another. And so our message to motorists out there is, give folks a break. Show some courtesy in your driving, and certainly be a defensive driver, but be a little courteous.
And do that, and we'll all be better. All right, now from a personal note, if I'm not wearing my seatbelt, are you pulling me over this year?
Well, that's a secondary offense. You have to have a primary offense, but that is the goal, to ticket people that do not have their seatbelts on, because that definitely contributes to our fatality numbers.
Well, I often wondered about that, because I was wondering when that was going to change to become not that. And I know a big push is to get folks in seatbelts, right?
Yes, absolutely. And, we have had a spike in the number of people who are actually wearing their seatbelts here in Stark County. Just a few years ago, we were at about just under 80%, and we exceed 87% now. Wow. So we're doing good.
Well, I think a lot of that is you're doing training in schools somehow on this, because when my kids come home and they're yelling at me to put the seatbelt on, it's like,
it's working.
So that was nothing like being, seatbelt shamed by your kids.
There you go.
Right? So thank you. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. Did we miss anything that you wanted to say here this morning?
Real quick, I just wanted to say thanks to the Sheriff Meier and CJ Stans for their effort in picking up this grant. Canal, Fulton, sometimes we only have one officer out on duty, and our goal is to make the bar parking lots look like a used car sales lot, at the end of the night. So there's high visibility, and there's people that are fear of being caught. And with this grant that they picked up, it really helps us get more officers on the street and accomplish that goal. So thanks, Sheriff. And
thank you.
Great to have the partnership.
All right, thank you guys so much.
Thanks for having us.
All right, thank you guys for being in. It's 10:28 at News Talk 1480 WHBC. We're going to go onward and upward talking about the foundation, Stark County Foundation, Community Foundation, and where Stark County's going in 2018 and beyond when we come back.